That decision was made after a robust national security assessment. And that may be referring to a Section 232 investigation, which is meant to determine if imports are threatening national security here in the United States.
Canada is the only country on earth, along with China, that has imposed so many counter tariffs. So we have had already a very strong response.
$2.5 billion. That's the hole Ford says tariffs will punch in its 2025 books. Across town, analysts warn Stellantis could see profits crater 75% if the levy sticks. But the real twist is north of the border. Foreign Minister turned street fighter Mélanie Joly calls Washington's move a direct attack on Canadian workers and has circled July 21st in red. Scrap the tariffs, or Ottawa hits back with power cuts, metal bans, and a $29.8 billion Canadian dollars counterbill. Once sold as supply chain brothers, the neighbors now look like sparring partners. One lobbing tax, grenades from the Oval Office. The other quietly locking in new buyers from London to Jakarta. The clock's ticking. If the White House blinks, Detroit might breathe. If not, the next punch comes from Ottawa. And workers on both sides will feel it first. Washington dug up Section 232 of the 1962 Trade Expansion Act, a Cold War relic meant for missile parts, to slap new duties on steel, aluminum, copper, and even Canadian cars. The logic: protect the homeland. The reality: Canada supplies Detroit with half its metal. This isn't a one-off. In early July, the White House sent identical letters to 20 capitals, warning that without fresh one-on-one trade deals, blanket tariffs of 25% to 50% drop on Liberation Day. Comply or pay up. Markets noticed. Foreign investors dumped U.S. treasuries, spiking yields and yanking billions from New York in a week. Diplomats noticed too. If a neighbor like Canada is branded a threat, who's safe next? So when the Oval Office says national security, allies here negotiating bludgeon. With July 21st circled in Ottawa, the question isn't whether Canada blinks. It's whether Washington's shield just turned boomerang. The White House's July 11th letter imposing a 35% blanket tariff on all Canadian goods hit Ottawa like a fire alarm. Within 48 hours, Joly huddled with mining chiefs, first Glencore and Teck, then Rio Tinto, and laid out two roads. Plan A: Washington scraps the tariffs. Talks resume. Plan B: Ottawa mirrors the U.S. with a 25% steel tariff, then pulls the bigger lever. Bans on hydropower, aluminum, and softwood lumber. Each target stings. Ontario Hydro lights factories in Buffalo and Syracuse. Quebec aluminum feeds every third pickup from Michigan. West Coast lumber frames half the new homes in the Pacific Northwest. Ontario Premier Doug Ford confirmed July 12th the province will slap a $7 Canadian per megawatt-hour surcharge on power headed to New York, Michigan, and Minnesota the minute the clock strikes midnight on the 22nd. Grid traders say that alone hits U.S. buyers for $200,000, 300,000 daily, enough to gut slim summer margins at dozens of upstate plants. Consumers are voting with their feet. Border data out July 10th show cross-border trips from Canada down 76% year over year. Travel agencies are steering sunseekers to Spain and Croatia. Airlines have axed 320,000 Canada U.S. seats for August. Duty-free shops from Niagara Falls to Montana say sales are off by half. Joly's office calls it solution mode, but the message is clear. Canada waded through aluminum, steel, copper. Now the calendar matters more than the talk. 10 days left. If Washington folds, the tariffs vanish. If not, the chain reaction starts at Ontario's dams, runs through Quebec smelters, and ends with tourists swapping Disney for Croatia. In a summer priced in megawatts of miles, Ottawa's message is simple. The next move is Washington's, and the meter's still running. Until 2 weeks ago, a piston cast in Quebec could cross the Ambassador Bridge, get milled in Detroit, heat-treated in Windsor, machined in Dearborn, then land in an Ontario engine plant, all before leaving the continent inside an F-150. Some parts still bound 6 or more times before final assembly. That flow snapped on July 11th, when the White House confirmed a 35% tariff on every Canadian import starting August 1st. The same day, GM halted its Silao, Mexico pickup line and warned Windsor it may idle camshaft production for at least 3 weeks. No clear path around cascading border taxes. Detroit's first hit came from Stellantis back in April. 900 U.S. layoffs and a pause at Brampton Assembly after the initial 25% tariff. Now managers say July's hike turns a slowdown into a full stall. Copper prices already spiked to a record $5.68 a pound after Washington floated another 50% duty on the metal vital for EV motors and wiring. Suppliers tacked on surcharges to every harness and radiator shipped this month. Ottawa's countermove squeezes the same choke points. On July 12th, Ontario confirmed it'll slap a 25% hydro export fee on July 22nd if talks fail, raising power costs for over 170 plastics and stamping plants in upstate New York. Meanwhile, mines in Sudbury are rerouting aluminum billets to Rotterdam. Starving U.S. smelters that already pay a Midwest premium now triple 2021 levels at 60 cents a pound. For buyers, the math hurts. The Alliance for Automotive Innovation warned sticker prices could jump 25%, about $7,000 on a mid-size SUV once summer stock runs dry. Dealers in Ohio and Texas say shoppers are buying early to dodge the August squeeze. Banks see a spike in 7-year car loans as households brace for bigger payments. The border feels it too. Ambassador Bridge truck counts fell 18% in the past 10 days, Canada Border Services data shows, while Amtrak's Toronto, Chicago line cut 2 daily runs as southbound bookings tanked. Automakers used to tight margins and just-in-time parts now juggle tariffs like hot coals. Every extra border crossing means not just minutes, but money. Thousands in tax and metal premiums pile up by the mile. The clock to July 21st keeps ticking. Each tick means another piston stuck at a toll booth and another car buyer wondering why that SUV price now looks like a mortgage. The border backlog is only half the story. Walk down any hardware aisle and you'll feel the other half in your wallet. On June 9th, the Midwest aluminum premium cracked 61 cents a pound, up 161% since January. Buyers locked in orders, but the spike lingers. By July 14th, hot rolled coil in Chicago still hovers near $881 a ton, about a third higher than last fall. Those costs seep into everything: cars, fridges, barbecue lids. The sticker shock is real now. On July 12th, Coca-Cola bottlers told investors they're shifting summer promos to plastic bottles after costs blew past budget. A Reuters survey out June 24th shows smaller food brands testing foil pouches and cartons to dodge metal bills. Builders can't dodge so easily. The National Association of Home Builders warned in May, and again on July 8th, that tariff markups on steel, copper, and lumber will add about $10,900 to the price of a new single-family home. Mortgage brokers in Ohio say that alone prices out 1 in 12 first-time buyers. Households feel it at checkout too. The latest S&P Global PMI on July 11th flagged the sharpest jump in selling price inflation since winter, with furniture and recreational goods leading the climb. The San Francisco Fed puts a number on it. If August tariffs stick, real household income could dip 0.4%, about $320 on the median paycheck by year-end. Ottawa's looming counter-punch tightens the squeeze. Ontario's 25% hydro export fee, set for July 22nd if talks fail, will lift factory power bills south of the Great Lakes, then ripple to grocery aisles and auto parts bins within weeks. Tariffs were sold as a shield, but the bill lands at checkout counters miles from any customs booth. Every cent added to a roll of aluminum or a ton of steel ends up in the cart. The question isn't whether shoppers notice. It's how long they keep swiping before the real slowdown hits. Trust is now the scarce commodity. Since President Trump's tariff blitz, Canada's reliance on U.S. buyers has fallen from 78% to 68%, while sales to Europe, Australia, and Japan have jumped 42%. Ottawa says it proves Canada can live without Washington's checkbook. Exporters are quietly rewriting contracts, quoting euros or yuan to dodge tariff shocks. It's part of a bigger shift. IMF data out July 9th shows the dollar share of global reserves has slipped to 57.8%, a three-decade low, while the euro's share rose to 20.1%. A small crack, but it widens with every new tariff threat. 4 months of tariffs have wiped about $4 trillion off U.S. stock values, pushing investors to gold and European bonds. The San Francisco Fed warns the new duties could cut real household income by 0.4% over the next year, a pay cut landing long before any factory jobs return. Dollar dominance isn't gone yet, but the erosion has begun. Each tariff notice sends more Canadian aluminum to Rotterdam, and more deals priced in euros. Confidence, once cheap, is now costly. What if every grocery run felt like a tax hike? In 6 weeks, Washington's 35% levy snapped the Canada. UDS, supply chain, froze auto plants, and sent aluminum costs up 162% since January. TSX futures dipped 0.1% on July 14th as investors weighed new tariffs and stalled talks. The question now, will the White House blink before July 21st and calm the waters? Or will Canada double down and strike more deals in euros and yuan? This was just the beginning. Hit that subscribe button and buckle up. Digital Garage has so much more in store.